Hello everyone, this is Stephen Balch, your instructor for Introduction to Macroeconomics at Ozarka College. Today what I'm going to do is give you a little bit of feedback on the Chapter 7 and 8 activities that I finished grading yesterday. Then I'm going to tell you what we've got coming up due next week for Chapters 9 and 10. And then I'm also going to briefly discuss the midterm exam, which we will have coming up next week. Okay? So the first thing is, like I said, I did finish grading the Chapter 7 and 8 activities yesterday. If you haven't already gone in and looked at your grades for those activities and read the corresponding grading comments, go ahead and do that as soon as you can. And let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Most of you did well on the assignment. The only thing I did notice, there were a couple of students who seemed to wait too long to get started on the assignment and just had to kind of do what they could before the time was up to get the work submitted. And so there were some assignment questions not answered thoroughly or not answered at all. And so I had to count some points off for that. That's an easy thing to correct, though. Is a good thing about that is just get started earlier on the next set of activities. But like I said, overall, most of you did well on the Chapter 7 and 8 assignment. And like I always tell you, I really appreciate those of you that are putting the time and effort into the class that's required to do well. So I really appreciate that. So keep up the good work on that. The discussion that we had for Chapter 7 and 8, if you remember, it dealt with the unemployment rate and unemployment compensation. I thought everyone did a good job with that discussion, provided some good information on the discussion board, and I really enjoyed reading everyone's comments and making my own comments and so forth. And so hopefully you got something valuable from that. You're able to kind of take some of the concepts that we were learning about in the chapters and apply it to a real-world case study. So hopefully you're enjoying those discussions just as much as I am. But keep up the good work on that as well. The chapter test, most of you did well on that. Just as a reminder, I know I always remind you of this, but you can take those chapter tests as many times as you want to up until the due date, and your highest grade is automatically recorded. So just kind of keep that in mind. But like I said, overall, in the Chapter 7 and 8 activities, most of you did really well, so I really appreciate that. All right, that brings us to what we've got coming up due next week for Chapters 9 and 10. Now, you'll notice on the activities page here that right now we're on week 7 of the semester, kind of in the middle portion of the week here. And we don't have anything else due, or we don't have anything due during week 7 this week. But there is work due early next week. So don't let the next set of activities sneak up on you. Don't wait until Monday next week to get started. Go ahead and be working on them this week, even though they're not due this week. You can always turn them in early if you get them done early. And it's always better to go ahead and get started early on these things because there's going to be a lot of things going on next week, like the midterm exam, in addition to the chapter activities. So the sooner you can get started on Chapters 9 and 10, the better. So let's see, Chapters 9 and 10 activities are due by Monday, March 10th. So you've got just a little under a week to work on those and get those submitted. Now, the Chapters 9 and 10, let me kind of tell you what we're going to be covering in these chapters. Chapter 9 covers short-run and long-run aggregate demand, okay? And so you're going to learn about what goes into calculating aggregate demand, the things that can change aggregate demand and shift the aggregate demand curve and so forth. And then in Chapter 10, we'll learn about the other portion of what creates the market and market prices, which is the short run and long run aggregate supply. So in Chapter 9, we'll look at the aggregate demand. In Chapter 10, we'll look at the other side, which is aggregate supply. So these concepts of aggregate demand and aggregate supply are very important in macroeconomics because they determine things like price levels in an economy and influence other things like consumption and investment and GDP, inflation, unemployment, interest rates. So these two basic concepts of aggregate demand and aggregate supply are very important to understand because they kind of lay the framework for understanding a lot of the other macroeconomic concepts that we'll learn more about as we go through the rest of the semester. Okay? Just make sure you remember all the resources that you have. You have your textbook. You have the PowerPoint slides that I've posted on the assignment page. You've also got the videos that I've linked on the assignment page. And I hope that you're really taking the time to watch those videos, because the videos that I've chosen for you and linked on the assignment pages are videos that I've really gone through and looked at and made sure that they are very effective in presenting the concepts that are discussed in the textbook. So I'm hoping that you're really taking the time to watch those videos, and I think most of you are. If you haven't done that in the past, really taking the time to watch the videos, I would really highly recommend doing that, because I think it will really help you to understand the concepts that are presented on the assignment and also in the textbook. Okay? So like I said, just remember all those resources that you have. If you have any questions as you're working through the chapters 9 and 10 activities, like I always tell you, send me a course mail. Let me know specifically what you're having a problem understanding, and I'll be glad to help you any way I can. All right? Now, the only other thing that I need to tell you about today is also under Week 8. That very last item you'll notice is the midterm exam. The midterm exam will cover all the chapters that we'll have covered by this midway point of the semester, which will be chapters 1 through 10. All right? And to study for this midterm exam, you'll need to go back and study the concepts that were covered on the previous chapter test. Don't study the questions on the chapter test. That's very critical. Don't study the questions, because the questions will be different. Study the concepts that are covered on those questions. Okay? And on the midterm exam, you'll only be able to take it one time, and there will be a time limit. And I will send out more information about the midterm exam probably tomorrow. So be looking for that in your course mail and also on the announcements page, because I'll send out information about it, more specific information, for example, how many questions and how much it's worth, things like that. Be working on your chapters 9 and 10 activities. Be studying for the midterm exam. And that's all I have for you for today. So enjoy the rest of your week and your weekend. And I will talk to you again probably either late next week or early the following week. Okay? One other thing I do need to say real quick is the midterm grades will be due, I believe they're due late next week. So just kind of be looking for that as well. I'll send you some information about when I posted those grades, but I probably will post those probably on Friday, the day that they're due, but since our midterm exam is Tuesday through Thursday of next week, probably won't be able to post the midterm grades until that Friday. So be looking for that as well. And like I said, that's all I have for you for today. So I will talk to you next time. Thank you.